Joining us now is House Republican Leader Drew Stokesbary, offering the minority caucus view as lawmakers begin the 2026 session. Representative Stokesbary, thanks for your time today. What are House Republicans' top priorities for 2026?
I mean, look, we've got a lot of priorities. Certainly, we want to continue to make Washington safer. We've had a big public safety crisis the past few years. We want better outcomes for our students in the K-12 system. We've made record investments, but unfortunately test scores have gone the other direction. But the biggest issue by far, both in terms of what Republicans will deal with and what we're hearing from the public, is how do we make Washington more affordable? We've heard a lot of fingers from the other side of the aisle getting pointed at politicians in Washington, D.C., blaming tariffs and things like that. But the truth of the matter is, life in Washington is uniquely unaffordable compared to nearly any other state. We have among the top 5 most expensive gas prices, housing prices, grocery prices, food prices, child care prices. Washington is far more expensive than almost any other state, and that's a result of policies passed in this Washington, not the other Washington. And so House Republicans will be working on 2 things. One, how do we stop passing bills that continue to make life more affordable? And 2, how do we begin to unwind some of the things so that maybe food can go down in price every once in a while?
At this point in the session, before it's actually gaveled in to begin, are there any bills that you could talk about from House Republicans that would specifically lower the tax burden?
Yeah, absolutely. There's 2 in particular that get at some of the most critical components of a household's budget. One is what tax folks call prepared food. When you go to the grocery store and buy groceries, which is raw ingredients, right, like salad or apples or a box of cereal, that's been exempt from sales tax for years. But when you buy prepared food, which actually sometimes happens at the grocery store too, like if you go to the salad bar or the deli and get a sandwich, but also anytime you go to Starbucks or McDonald's or Jack in the Box, you're paying sales tax on that. Washington doesn't only have one of the most expensive grocery prices in the country. We've also got the most expensive prices at national restaurant chains like McDonald's and Jack in the Box and Burger King. Food is unaffordable no matter if you're going grocery shopping or trying to get fast food between kids' sports practices. So we want to repeal the sales tax on prepared food to align with how we've already repealed it on groceries. We also want to identify some of life's essentials that everybody needs, but that make up a disproportionate share of working families' budgets. So one of the items we've identified is diapers. New families have got to buy diapers. There's not a great alternative. We should exempt diapers from state sales tax.
The governor has proposed a 10% tax on millionaires, basically an income tax on revenue, annual income above $1 million, with some conditions. He wants to see corresponding tax reduction in other areas, and also some protections to prevent expansion in the future to, say, lower income households or middle income households. What's your perspective on that discussion, and do you think that we will see robust debate on that this year?
Well, first of all, nobody has proposed a bill, so there's no way of knowing who the income tax would hit, and there's no way of knowing where that money would go and what other taxes would be reduced. No way of ensuring protection that it's only going to hit certain people. So, Democrats need to start introducing bills. Second of all, I would say that while the governor has said he would look at ways to reduce other taxes and protect that tax from expanding, I've not heard a lot of Democrat legislators share those opinions. I'd point out that economic data is very clear that states without an income tax are doing phenomenally better than states with an income tax. Washington loses about 50 residents every day. Other states without an income tax are gaining residents. But if you compare all states without an income tax to states with an income tax, no income tax states have faster growing population, they have faster growing GDP growth, faster growing job growth, and most importantly, faster growing personal and household income. So the data is clear that if we can avoid an income tax, the state will grow, our state's economy will grow, and families' incomes will grow. We see that across all the other states that don't have an income tax. But probably the most important thing is that while the governor and legislative Democrats are saying this is a millionaire's tax, it's a millionaire's, if it passed, it would be a millionaire's tax today. But eventually, it would be a tax on regular people like you and me. Folks need to think back how many times they've gone to the store or gotten a letter in the mail that have said their taxes are decreasing. versus how many times they've seen Olympia raise their taxes. Olympia has raised taxes hundreds of times. They have rarely, if ever, cut taxes. So it might be an income tax on millionaires today, but it's an income tax on you and me tomorrow.
Some proponents of an income tax argue that the voters have signaled they're open to more progressive taxation. They point to the defeat of the initiative, which would have repealed the state capital gains tax, and also just say, that's it's been a long-term goal. Do you think that's true? Has the voter base changed since many income taxes have been defeated since the first one was proposed in Washington?
Yeah, I've lost count at the number of times the public has rejected an income tax, but I think it's about 12 times, including as recently as maybe 10, 15 years ago, voters soundly rejected an income tax, even one that was targeted on high earners. So I think the public is clear they don't really want an income tax. They rightfully don't trust Olympia Democrats to hold their word that it's only ever going to be a tax on millionaires. I think the public has a right to be skeptical. Some of my Democratic colleagues have even acknowledged publicly that it's going to be impossible for the public to trust that the legislature won't raise the income tax to apply to other people. So I don't think the public wants an income tax. I've not heard from many constituents that say they want it. I've heard from far more who say they don't want an income tax. Every time it's been put on the ballot in the last 100 years, an income tax has failed. So I don't think it's something that voters want.
If there were to be a bill that comes out to create one, would you rather it be to have a constitutional amendment, a referendum vote on it, or just a majority vote?
I'm opposed to an income tax no matter what. I think the economic data is clear that, like I said a minute ago, states without an income tax have faster growing population, faster growing economic growth, faster growing job growth, and faster growing personal income growth. So I think it's just bad policy no matter who it applies to. However, I think if Democrats were serious, that their starting position would be a constitutional amendment to lock in who it covers, and they would have a dollar-for-dollar reduction in other taxes. If Democrats aren't willing to make it part of the Constitution, and if they're not willing to reduce sales tax for every dollar they raise in income tax, I don't think it's a very serious proposal.
What areas do you see for the biggest opportunities for bipartisan cooperation?
I'm hopeful that there can be a lot of bipartisan cooperation around making Washington more affordable. I mentioned a minute ago that Republicans will be proposing bills to eliminate the sales tax on prepared food, eliminate the sales tax on diapers. That's actually something that Governor Bob Ferguson has talked about a little bit so far this session. He's also floated the idea of a sales tax reduction or elimination on diapers. So I'm glad to see him following Republicans' lead there. The other thing that Republicans have proposed the last couple of years is to use some of the windfall we're getting from the carbon tax, which is one of the reasons Washington has among the highest gas prices in the country. Use some of that to fund the working families tax credit, which is a targeted reduction to give a tax credit to working families. That's been a Republican idea for several years, to use the carbon tax money to fund the working families tax credit. Governor Ferguson's budget proposal, while there's a lot of things that I don't support in there, he does include that proposal. So I'm hoping that those are some ideas. The governor has already signaled alignment with House Republicans' position, hoping legislative Democrats will follow suit as well.
So we've got a couple of minutes left here, but I want to get to some of the issues that you think are likely to be the biggest points of contention within your own caucus. Are there differing opinions on some of the bills that are some of the current discussions coming out among Republicans?
I'm sure there are. We've got 39 Republicans in our caucus that represent different corners of the state, have got different life experience, family experience, professional experience, different backgrounds. But we're pretty united on the things that count. We're pretty united on making sure Washington becomes a safer place to live. Pretty united on wanting to take care of our kids, both those in the K-12 system, those that are under care of the state, like through the foster system, and most importantly, united on trying to make Washington more affordable and opposing the Democrats' really costly initiatives the past couple years that have made Washington less affordable.
With less than a minute, if you could, just address any areas you think would be good fits for cuts moving forward, and also wrap us up with closing thoughts.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing Washington has to do is attack the structural deficit problem. When we when we met for your viewers, exactly 1 year ago on the first day of the 2025 session, we talked about a looming $5 or $10 billion budget deficit. The legislature raised taxes by $10 billion to balance the budget, and once again, we're back here 1 year later with another multi-billion-dollar budget deficit. Every year for the past several years, the legislature has passed a budget that spends more money than it takes in. The budget balances based on money we have left over from previous years, but we know it's structurally unbalanced. We've got to attack that. We've got to find programs that aren't working and reduce spending in those areas so we can double down on the investments that do work.
We'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much, Representative Stokesbary. We do appreciate your time.